Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3862A, and today's date is March 17th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Federal Reserve is now trying to blackmail the DOJ. Warsh is the cleanup crew. We all know this. Aging isn't fun. Looking like you age is even worse. There's a massive disconnect in the beauty world. One of the secrets to looking and feeling younger is that instead of treating your skin like it's a piece of leather that needs to be polished, treat it like an actual living organ that needs to be fed. Most of the expensive products in our bathroom cabinet just sit on the surface, while the actual structural damage is happening much, much deeper. If you aren't getting the right nutrients into the bloodstream, your skin is essentially starving for nutrients it needs to stay firm. That's why taking multi-collagen is my daily essential. Unlike those surface-only solutions, this special product I use delivers 5 premium types of collagen directly to my cells to help rebuild my skin's foundation from the inside out. It's flavorless, bioavailable, and specifically designed to reduce wrinkle volume by giving my body exactly what it's missing. My wife notices my skin looks more youthful and compliments me daily on it. Get your significant other to compliment you too. Get 51% off ageless multi-collagen at healthwithx22.com. Every order includes a glow-up bundle with a free VIP coaching for life, the 14 foods for amazing skin ebook, and free shipping. Plus, it's all backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Head to healthwithx22.com to claim your 51% discount before it expires, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, they are now trying to stop Trump every step of the way, and the Federal Reserve is now trying to blackmail the DOJ. They really don't want the DOJ investigating into what they've been doing with all this money, the billions of dollars that have been going into the building, trying to refurbish it. They really don't want the DOJ to find out what's been happening. So they're telling the DOJ, listen, we got a deal for you. If you back off, I won't stay on the board, and I'm talking about Powell. But if you keep doing this, I will never leave. I will stay on the Fed chair board, and I will make it very, very difficult for Trump. Think about what is happening right now. Think about what's going on. Now, it's very interesting. Yes, Kevin Warsh is going to be, or is the nominee. And if you look up Warsh, he's like the cleanup crew. Back in the day, it meant cleaning. It was slang. But it's very interesting. This is who Trump picks. Now, hopefully he's confirmed. And I do believe this entire thing is to actually prepare the Federal Reserve to be restructured into the Treasury. Clean it up, get it ready, remove a lot of the something like 30,000 PhDs or something like that, and prepare it so it could be then assimilated into the Treasury, and we no longer have the Federal Reserve. Now, we do need the help of the House and the Senate in all this, and that's why the midterms are so very, very important. But when you start to look at this, you could see this is where Trump is moving because, again, yes, you build the tariff system to reshore manufacturing. You build the tariff system to bring currency into this country. You build the tariff system to bring external revenue into this country. What that means is you are competing with the Federal Reserve. And eventually what you're going to do is you're going to remove the Federal Reserve, remove the income tax, and replace it with a system that brings in currency from the outside so we could pay the government, the smaller government. Actually, Trump has mentioned this many, many times. In the future, what's going to happen is that the tariffs will take care of the income tax. Actually, he's bringing us back to a time before there was a central bank system. And yes, he's putting all the pieces into place right now. That's what this is all about. And you could see at this point in time with the war in Iran, or should we just call it a mission, a military mission to actually straighten out the world, realign the world, because really that's what's happening. If you're going to realign this country, you got to do it around the world. You just can't do it within this country because, again, the deep state, the central bankers, they set up their system worldwide. And when you really look at it, you could see that Trump now, he is making moves to actually control the energy, not just in this country, but across the world. And make deals with countries saying, listen, you don't really need the Middle East gas. You don't really need the oil. Actually, we can supply that for you because there is a choke point there. Yes, we'll be control of that choke point, and the coalition forces hopefully might join in. But if not, the United States will be controlling the choke point. But again, look what happens when these things occur. So you might want to figure out a different way to basically bring in the natural gas, bring in the oil. And I do believe this is exactly what he's doing right now, realigning pretty much everything. Because again, if you're going to bring manufacturing back to this country, if you're going to remove the globalist system, remove the central bank system, you need cheap energy. Why do you think China was taking the oil from Iran at something like $8 or $10 a barrel? Because they wanted cheap energy so they can actually manufacture. Think about this for a second. And now Trump is basically pivoting and shifting everything because he knows in the end, once you get rid of the central bank system, everything is going to change. And he's actually preparing and prepping for all of this. And we'll be talking a little bit more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about how the left is really complaining about the new dime right now, because the olive branch is removed from the dime and they're blaming it all on Trump. It's Trump's fault. Look what he's doing. But the funny thing is that it wasn't Trump. So Americans are raising eyebrows at the new emerging Liberty dime, the back of which, for 1 year at least, now features an eagle carrying only arrows in its talons, rather than the version of the eagle seen on the Greater Seal of the United States, which shows the bird clutching arrows on one side and an olive branch on the other. The administration that has decided to call the Department of Defense the Department of War has removed the olive branches, the people on X and other social media platforms are saying. And they're saying it's all because of Trump. They're all blaming Trump for the design of the new dime. But there's one problem with all this. The change occurred during the final months of the Biden administration. In fact, the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, which advises the Treasury Secretary, voted to approve the new design in October 2024. So that is very, very interesting. So they're all complaining about this. But once again, it wasn't Trump. And when they find out it was Biden, watch how all of a sudden they change their story. But what's very interesting is that when you look at this, this actually does have a powerful type of symbolism. Because on July 8th, 1775, 3 weeks after the Battle of the Bunker Hill, and nearly 3 months after the clashes at the Lexington and Concord, the Second Continental Congress sent Britain's King George III a second petition, known to history as the Olive Branch Petition, signed by the likes of John Hancock, Samuel Adams, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Patrick Henry, and Thomas Jefferson. The Olive Branch Petition affirmed colonists' allegiance to the king and sought a peaceful redress of their many grievances. But the king denounced them as rebels, and they never again sought formal reconciliation. And I do believe that's what the coin is symbolizing. And once again, you can see we're going into the 250th anniversary of this country. And we could see that at this point in time, on the 250th anniversary of this country, Trump is preparing to change the entire country and bring it back to what our founders truly wanted, especially when we talk about the creation of currency, especially when we talk about that we should have never had a central bank system in this country. And everything is about to change because, again, think about what our founding fathers fought against. They knew about the money changers. They knew about the central bank system. They knew that we should never have that in this country. This is why when they put the Constitution together, they said the people will coin the money. They didn't say, hey, by the way, you might need a central bank. Hey, by the way, you might need an outside entity to control this. They didn't say that whatsoever. And I do believe at this point in time, and the way they structured the Constitution, we need to add another amendment to the Constitution to make sure that the Federal Reserve or a central bank system never comes into existence again. We need to expand upon what they put into the Constitution because, once again, these deep state players, they always find a way, and the central bankers, they always find a way around the Constitution. And I do believe this is why the founding fathers left the Constitution open and allowed you to add amendments because they knew the world would change. These tyrannical governments, these tyrannical people would always come back. The central bank would always come back. So they left it open so this way we could protect the country every step of the way. Now think about what Trump is doing right now. He is now prepping the world for a new economic system. And yes, he started this mission out in the very beginning part of this year. He did this on purpose because he knew that it wouldn't take that long to actually wipe out the regime of Iran, get control of the Strait of Hormuz, get control of Karg, make deals across the globe, and actually have other countries purchase our natural gas and oil from this country. Because Trump, once again, is showing them, look, there are choke points. Look, this is what happens when war occurs. Think about what happened during COVID. A lot of manufacturers realized, hey, wait a minute, we shouldn't be centralized in one location because look what happens when there's a disaster or a pandemic or even if there's a war. And I think these countries are starting to wake up and they're starting to see this. So yes, are we seeing gas prices move up? Yes, they're moving up. Peter Sayong says gas prices just hit $3.70, up 25% in 17 days. There are 5 ways Congress and states can immediately lower gas prices by up to $1.10. Yes, they can remove the state taxes. The federal government can move the federal taxes on gas. They could do many, many different things to do this. But again, I do believe that this is just an artificial bump, just like when the country was shut down artificially, then it was reopened and people went back to their jobs. I do believe what's happening right now is that because of fear and because of what's happening in Iran, I do believe this is artificial. And because of fear and control of the oil market, they push the prices up. Now, think about it. When Trump removes the choke points, when he removes the shadow fleets, removes all of this, you're going to see oil really start to go down because the fear is going to be removed. We all know this. Aging isn't fun. Looking like you age is even worse. There's a massive disconnect in the beauty world. One of the secrets to looking and feeling younger is that instead of treating your skin like it's a piece of leather that needs to be polished, treat it like an actual living organ that needs to be fed. Most of the expensive products in our bathroom cabinet just sit on the surface, while the actual structural damage is happening much, much deeper. If you aren't getting the right nutrients into the bloodstream, your skin is essentially starving for nutrients it needs to stay firm. That's why taking multi-collagen is my daily essential. Unlike those surface-only solutions, this special product I use delivers 5 premium types of collagen directly to my cells to help rebuild my skin's foundation from the inside out. It's flavorless, bioavailable, and specifically designed to reduce wrinkle volume by giving my body exactly what it's missing. My wife notices my skin looks more youthful and compliments me daily on it. Get your significant other to compliment you too. Get 51% off ageless multi-collagen at healthwithx22.com. Every order includes a glow-up bundle with a free VIP coaching for life, the 14 foods for amazing skin ebook, and free shipping. Plus, it's all backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Head to healthwithx22.com to claim your 51% discount before it expires, or just click the link in the description. So these prices artificially went up, and you're going to see as soon as everything's all said and done, you're going to see these oil prices drop back to exactly where they were, and then you're going to see them drop even further as time goes on. I do believe this won't even take but maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and it's going to happen very, very quickly, maybe 3 at the most. But during this period of time, you're going to see a downward trend of the prices. And you could see that Trump right now, yes, he's monitoring the economy, monitoring oil, monitoring all this, but I think he knows that, again, this is all artificial and this is not here to stay. Trump War Room put this out, and this is coming from Hassett. It says Iran's strategy appeared to be that they could hurt the U.S. economy and that would make POTUS slow down. In fact, they're not hurting the U.S. economy very much at all. The economy as a whole is sound, and there's no way President Trump will back down until he sees this through to the end. So if anyone is thinking that he's going to stop this, no. So the artificial prices will stay up for a little bit longer, and eventually, when all's said and done, we're going to see everything start to shift and move in a completely different direction. You're going to see oil, gas, and everything else really start to come down. And think about what Trump has done right now. He just actually delivered a blow to Canada, and he has made a deal with Japan, and Japan decided we're not going to deal with Canada. So this is very, very interesting. Mark Nixon put this out and said, massive blow to Mark Carney's low-risk, low-carbon oil. Japan rejects Mark Carney's low-risk BS and signs a $56 billion oil and gas contract with the U.S. Canada is being replaced. Cheaper supply wins every single time. And you could see that I do believe that you're going to see a lot of the Asian nations right now. I think they're going to probably end up signing on to the United States in regards to gas, oil, and whatnot. I do believe that Trump is going to reassure them that if anything like this happens again, you could be assured that you can get the supplies from the United States. There are no choke points. There's nothing like that, like you're seeing out in Iran. So I do believe the market is going to shift, and it's going to shift very, very soon. And you have to remember, everything that people are experiencing right now is actually because of what happened over the many, many years, since 1971 when we came off the gold standard. And yes, during the Biden administration, when he really ramped up inflation and oil prices, gas prices started to go really high. And what people are feeling is the after effect of all of that. Because again, it just doesn't go away. Yes, Trump can mitigate it, but at this point, you could see with what's going on with Iran, the oil prices, the gas prices have gone up again. Are they as high as Biden? No. But people are still going to feel it. And I do believe Trump, he knew he was going to be going into Iran. This is why he pushed the oil prices down as far as he possibly could. And he knew that the oil prices were going to go up, but he didn't want them going up from $4 or $5 all the way up to $6. This is why he brought them down so low. So this way, when they went up, they'd still be in the $3 range. And that's exactly what he's done. Yes, some places they're hitting $4, but for the most part, I do believe they're hovering around the high threes. And I do believe this is not going to last that much longer. And this is why people across this country are feeling it. Because you have to remember, the central bank system doesn't benefit the people. The central bank system breaks down over time. And that's exactly what we're feeling, and that's what we're experiencing. Now, Trump still has to play the game because he's within the central bank illusionary economy. And the central bankers, the deep state players, the fake news, they always pointed to the stock market to gauge the economy. So Trump is using this against them right now. But again, what people are going to feel is going to be something very, very different as soon as the Iran mission is over. And Trump is going to keep the market up high while he mitigates the inflation that Biden and the rest of the presidents and Congress have caused over a long period of time. So as he mitigates all this, people are going to feel relief, especially when he starts to remove the income tax. Now, think about it. He started this in the beginning of this year. Once we're in the summer and this is all said and done and oil prices are coming down and he starts removing the income tax and people are getting a refund from the one big beautiful bill, people are going to completely and utterly forget about this just like that. That's how quickly people are going to forget about this. This is why he did it in the beginning of the year. And once again, you could see that over half Americans say healthcare, a week-long vacation, and a new car are unaffordable. And it just didn't start yesterday. This has been going on for quite a while. And actually got a lot worse during Biden. Trump now is basically controlling the inflation. Yes, soon the oil price will be coming down. But again, he's using the stock market to basically counter what the news is trying to say. Because remember, they have always used the stock market to make you believe that the economy is doing well. All you got to do is go back to 2008, 2009, when Bernanke said the economy was great. They're not forecasting any type of recession. The fake news did what? They looked at the stock market. They didn't look at anything else. They weren't looking at anything else. And Trump is using this against them. And Trump is doing something else. Remember the World Economic Forum, the central bankers? They told everyone that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Why do you think there is leasing of cars? Why do you think they were buying up all the real estate and renting it to people? Why do you think you rent your phone? Because they wanted you not to really own anything. They didn't want you to be proud of owning anything. And they didn't want anyone striving for anything better. Because think about really what they wanted in the end. They just wanted a slave population. They have one now with the central bank, but they were taking it to the next level. Well, Trump is now reversing all of this. Marin Nafal put this out and said, Trump just declared war on Wall Street landlords. 2 executive orders signed live with no auto pen. Order number 1, bring community banks back into the mortgage game. Order number 2, slash construction costs for home builders. Trump's message is simple. We want America to be a nation of owners, not renters. Now think about that for a second. He is reversing what the World Economic Forum, what the central bank has told us. You'll own nothing and be happy. So now he wants people to own things. Think about that for a second. And think about how this system was created. Now, we talked about the insurrection. We talked about Amendment number 14, Section 4, where Any debt that is created by an insurrection, it's null and void. And think about the fraud that we've been seeing. And think about the debt level that we're at. If we start to subtract all of this, is our debt that high? I don't believe so. Can we balance the budget? I do believe so. If we remove the bloat in government, can we balance the budget with the external revenue from the tariff system? Absolutely. And what's very interesting is that Stephen Miller said something very, very interesting. Margot Martin put this out. What we found since Trump took office is that Democrats have set up a system to funnel hundreds of billions of and ultimately trillions of dollars to migrants that are in this country. So it's $1 trillion worth of fraud. That's interesting. So if it's trillion, let's say 1 to 2 trillion this year. Last year it's 1 to 2 trillion. The year before that is 1 to 2 trillion. How much have they been laundering? Quite a bit. Trump Roman put this out and says, Stephen Miller on illegals defrauding American taxpayers. If all of it were stopped, it would be enough to balance the budget. The extraction of wealth from American taxpayers by those who don't belong here is the primary cause of the national debt. So that's very, very interesting. So the national debt was created by the money laundering system. Now, this is just to the illegals. Think about all the other things that they've been doing. So he's now letting everyone know maybe we're not responsible for this debt. Now, what happens when Trump ties this into an insurrection, saying when Obama came into office, that's when the insurgency started. That's when the insurrection started against this country, the rebellion against this country. And back then, the debt was $10 trillion. Remove the debt before that for illegals and fraud and waste. What is our real debt then? That's very, very interesting. And this is something the Federal Reserve doesn't want anyone to see. This is something the deep state players don't want anyone to see. Because again, we need to go inside the Federal Reserve to see what they have been doing. And they're so panicked right now. They're so afraid that they're trying to blackmail the Department of Justice. And I do believe Trump is now testing the Federal Reserve and actually seeing what methods they are going to use to try to stop Trump from looking into what they've been doing. Can he just do it easily by saying, let's have an investigation? Or does he need Congress to vote on it saying we need a forensic audit of the Federal Reserve? And I think we're leading towards a federal forensic audit of the Federal Reserve at this point in time. Julie Kelly put this out and said, according to U.S. Attorney Pirro, Jerome Powell's attorney suggests to her during a recent meeting that Powell would stay on the Fed Reserve Board, ostensibly as a persistent thorn in the president's side after his term as chair expires in May, unless the DOJ investigation goes away. Pirro accused Powell of strong-arming the DOJ into dropping the investigation into fraud and false statements related to excessive overspending on Fed Malhal. This mob-like tactic, in addition to the Fed's ignoring 2 grand jury subpoenas, was of no concern to Jeb Boasberg. Also of note, one of the Fed's attorneys is Robert Hur. Isn't he the one that was investigating Biden? Remember, he was investigating him for classified information, and he did cite that Biden had memory issues, specific lapses in time, didn't remember when he was vice president, and pretty much said, oh yeah, he's good to go. He can still be president of the United States. So that should tell you everything you need to know. So once again, if you let Biden off the hook for having classified information when he was not allowed to have classified information, what is he going to do with the Federal Reserve? I think that should tell you everything you need to know right there. And you can see that the Federal Reserve right now is panicking, because when all's said and done, I do believe Trump, he's going to push Kevin Warsh into the Federal Reserve. Of course, he has to get it confirmed. Hopefully it's Kevin Warsh. Maybe it'll be somebody else. And I do believe Kevin Warsh is going to basically reorganize, restructure the entire system to prepare it to be brought into the Treasury. And I do believe that is going to be one of the last acts. Now, can he just do it? No. What do we need to happen first? We need the House and the Senate. We need control of the House and Senate. That's why the midterms are so important. Remember, part of Trump's plan to actually bring us back to the Constitution, bring us back to sound money, relies on the fact that we need to get rid of the Federal Reserve. And to get rid of the Federal Reserve, you need to have the midterms. And remember, that's the other part of the plan. And we need to put protections into place. Yes, we can codify his executive orders, but we also need to remove some laws and actually implement other laws, and I do believe an amendment. So I do believe moving forward, we need to make sure that we get the second part of this, which is the midterms, because we need the House and Senate to move forward to get rid of the last part. Because again, if we're truly going to see the golden age, all of this has to come together. Now, do I believe this is going to happen? Absolutely. Do I believe that we're going to win the House and Senate? Yes, we still have to vote. Everyone's got to get out there. Do I believe the deep state, the central bankers are planning to try to stop all of this? Absolutely. And when they can't stop it and they lose and they see where Trump is going with all this, what do you think they're going to do next? They'll probably try to bring down the entire economic system. But I do believe Trump and the team, they're prepared for this. They know what's going to happen. And in the end, it will not work, just like everything else. Because Trump, he knows the playbook. He knows what needs to be done. And he didn't create the parallel economic system for nothing. And think about it. I do believe he'll be weaning us off of the central bank system, weaning the people off the central bank system, weaning the government off the central bank system, which means the government's not going to borrow there. The people aren't going to have to pay the income tax, which means the central bank system will just be a standalone building, couple of buildings, and they will not really have any involvement in the economic system. So once again, will Trump have all the leverage? I do believe so, no matter what they try. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.